All right, welcome to the Space Weather Ultra Early Edition on your Sunday. And we've been shrinking that gray box for your viewing pleasure here. Looking at about 6.5 hours of solar activity here, 171 angstroms view on the SDO. There's a small, pretty weak-looking active region rising here, and no sunspots, no sunspots. X-ray flux totally flatlined. Here's the GOES X-ray imager. Shrink that down so you can see the date stamps. And again, there's 171 angstroms. Activity has actually weakened since yesterday. Here's a 304 angstroms view. Not a lot going on the surface. 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dropped back down to 68, or really stayed level at 68 since yesterday. Moving on to the stereo A coronagraph C2, your space weather beacon. And not a lot going on there either, folks. I don't know why it's been highlighted. There we go. Solar wind pretty much at nominal levels here. Before we get on to that, let's talk about Patreon. If you're going to join Patreon, become a patron, join at the $9.99 a month level. The $1 a month level will evaporate on Halloween, so don't find yourself frightened and not getting the instant updates that our paid members have. This channel is supported by Patreon, by the way, as YouTube pays us precisely zilch to make these videos. You can support us via PayPal also if you like, or if you're in the market for CBDs, try the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, also linked below the video. So just click that little down arrow there, and the menu will pop up and you'll see all the links in our description. Everything from CBD waxes to CBDs for your pets. CBD lip balm, starting at only $9.95. And then the regular everyday whole plant tinctures. So got some sales going on in the hemp seed oil suspensions. That's the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. Perhaps stockpile some CBDs in your disaster preparedness. See what I did there? That's called a segue. Now, going to talk about David Dubine's book, Climate Revolution. And today we're going to look at step 3, reduce your debts. Now, right now is a time when inflation is going to increase, folks. Your dollars are going to buy less stuff over the next year. So at the same time that food prices are going to rise for another at least a year, your dollars will buy you less stuff. Now, that is not because of merchants raising prices. That's because of governments allowing fractional reserve banking to occur, legal tender laws, and so on. As in most countries, you can't demand payment in silver or gold or anything besides the, quote, sovereign currency. Let's just hope it remains sovereign and doesn't become a sovereign currency / sovereign debt crisis. When governments reduce taxes, we would like to see them reduce spending also. We don't expect to see that. Maybe just a reduction in the rate of spending increase would be nice. In any case, the government is highly incompetent in most of the things that it does, which is why we would like to see it shrink. Embrace a simpler lifestyle, improve personal cash flow, and sell unneeded assets and possessions, perhaps, and replace them with needed possessions before the inflation gets worse than it already is. Now, most other countries are looking at the U.S. as a safe haven right now, which is why the U.S. bond rates are so low. And let's not talk any more economics. If you want to buy the book, we've got that linked below the video. So just, again, click that description box. You'll see a link to oilseedcrops.org. Climate Revolution by David Devine and Bill and Richard Porter. Incidentally, this YouTube channel is cited in the book. Let's talk about more data, like the real-time solar wind. Now we see an extremely divergent BT-BZ here. We see the BT at quite high levels and the BT at very low negative levels there. Actually, it looks a little different than it did just a few minutes ago. Hang on. Expand the size of that graph a little bit. So you see a very divergent BT-BZ there, a strong total field and in a very negative orientation associated with earthquake risks, folks. 4.43 is the solar wind density and 429 kilometers per second is the solar wind speed. Pretty nominal levels there. And I brought up the three-day chart just for a moment here, just to show you what looks like a coronal mass ejection to me. This is that small one we covered on the channel 3 days ago. Pretty much showed up when we expected it to there, and that does not look like a coronal hole wind stream. That looks like a coronal mass ejection. Small impact from a weak, fairly insignificant CME that nobody saw except for our channel. Anyway, put back the 1 day here, and there's again the last 24 hours of your solar wind. Here's the ACE data, and there's the latest. It's looking pretty corroborative there. KP index is at 3, up from 2. And let's go to magnetosphere movies. First we'll look at the density. And this is 4 hours worth, folks. It's time to elevate my leg, as I'll be walking like a normal person again today, mostly. Here's the pressure. It's looking pretty low and pretty slanted. Welcome to the equinox season, folks. What are you going to do for the equinox? Are you going to view our live stream? If so, please leave a comment. We're going to schedule it way in advance. By the way, the equinox is on Monday the 23rd. And it's right around when we're normally making our videos. So we're going to be live streaming for that. And we see significant pressure there on the nighttime side. Here's the ground geospace magnetic perturbations. There we go. Shrink that down. 4 hours of that data. If you're wondering what's in my coffee, it's coconut oil, cayenne pepper, cocoa powder, and strong organic coffee. And this refreshed on us, so we'll let it play through. We see a bit of a magnetic perturbation going into the Indian Ocean there, which is where the South Pole appears to be creeping. And we see kind of a standard issue here. Main perturbations in the north are over the Canadian pole, not the Siberian. Here's 6 hours of ionosphere. I guess I can take up less screen. There we go. That's better. And we see some sudden charge ups where the sun-facing side's been up to 12 megahertz there, although not looking particularly anomalous. Although it is equinox season, and that's kind of the best time for auroras, for instance. If we saw a big coronal hole wind stream or a big coronal mass ejection, we would expect very large auroras. We see the largest auroras around the equinoxes. So anyway, the F2 is looking fairly normal there. A little on the charge side on the sun-facing portion. X-ray flux has been totally flatlined here since we saw some little weirdnesses yesterday. and that could be cosmic ray flux causing a data loss there, although I didn't see any CCD bakeouts. Electron flux is looking fairly smooth here, not quite so high, and relativistic electrons are still quite high but relaxed from where they were about 10 days ago, which is the highest we saw in a year. Charging hazards are over the central Atlantic and the Caribbean, and pretty minor. Here's where stuff is in the solar system, and there's where things will be in 1 week. Did you have a moon harvest? Please leave a comment. There's the GOES magnetometer data, and let's look at the Gong 2 and see what the heliospheric current sheet is looking like on this Sunday, September 15th. There's the Gong 2 data taken from about 52 ground-based Earth magnetometers, including the Sunspot Observatory, as well as stereo B out here and stereo A over here. There still is some activity which appears to be south of the equator, which is why we see, well, I won't get into why we see this green field, which is the North Pole. It has to do with the way that the B field is pulled back by sunspots and magnetic complexity. And let's just bring up the latest image here. And there's the latest image. Looks like fairly smooth magnetometer sailing there for the next week or so, save for the fact that there are some active regions rising. But they really don't look like sunspots at this point. They just look like small plages, and we'll be interested to see if they are cycle 24 or cycle 25. Here's where stuff is above my head, courtesy of in-the-sky.org. And if you want to make your own star chart, just head there, put in your zip code or whatever. We did see an earthquake in Pennsylvania, by the way, near Hanover. Check it out, a 2.8 magnitude. And let's look at the rest of the list here. And let me take this opportunity to tell you not to smack your femur on a chromoly bike frame. It's not the best idea. Of course, not that I did it on purpose. So in the past 24, and this is about 20 hours ago, we see a 4.5 at the Philippines. We only cover 4+ magnitude quakes here typically, but if they happen within 100 miles of where I live, I'm covering any quakes. As quakes freak me out, folks. I've never experienced one firsthand that I know of. It's so weird. And we see a 4.3 at Turkey. We see a 4.9 at Chile, where we've been warning for a larger quake for ages. As the 7+ magnitude earthquake drought continues, even the 6 magnitude earthquake drought is continuing. No 6 or 7s for an extended period here. 5.2 in the middle of the South Atlantic there. Check it out. I think this is the second largest of the past day here, a 5.4 in the Aleutians off the coast of mainland Alaska, 4.7 at Chile. Here's a 4.4 in Turkey, a 5.9 in Indonesia. I think that's the largest quake of the past 24. That one coming in at 1621 UTC. Here's a 5.1 at New Zealand, out in that ocean rift zone where we saw a, what was that, a 6+ magnitude, 7+ magnitude? I can't remember. I think it was a deep 7, right? Anyway, there's that rift zone and the location of that quake northeast of New Zealand. And back to the list. Here's a 4.3 at Chile. Next on the list, 4.2. Looks like it's west of Kamchatka. 4.3 at Turkey. 4.3 at Indonesia. 5.0 at the Reconnaissance Ridge, as we saw activity there yesterday as well. Here's a 4.7 at Japan. A deep quake at Chile, right where we've been warning and warning and warning for a larger quake at the surface. In a very odd portion of the world, that's the Atacama Desert, folks. What a weird area that is. Are you a high plains drifter? And here's a 4.6 at New Zealand. Same spot as that. Looks like an aftershock of that quake out in that ocean rift zone. Let's move on and not make this video too long, as it's going to be a kind of a short one today, folks. Abico, let's do the volcano rundown at volcanodiscovery.com. Looks like Abico's erupting and producing a 10,000-foot ash plume. Please don't fly your homemade kit helicopter ultralight over that. It could be unhelpful. Mount Aso, a 6,000-foot ash plume there. Mount Dacono, 7,000-foot ash plume there. As it explodes for weeks and indeed months. Popocatépetl still exploding too, producing a 22,000-foot ash plume. Venador exploding, 14,000-foot ash plume there. Sabancaya exploding, 23,000-foot ash plume there. And while we're unable to detect volcanic ash coming out of Nevados de Chilean, we don't recommend pole vaulting the caldera, as it's been exploding and producing tens of thousands of foot ash plumes on the regs. Here are the eastern jets, and we are on nullschool.net, folks. That's earth.nullschool.net. Southern jets are a little bit doubled up. Northern jets are doubled up too. Welcome to the equinox! Welcome to equinox season! We've got your jet streams! We've got meridional flow. It's more thermal than it seems. Convective patterns. Check it out. Convective patterns ruling the day in the northern hemisphere. And it looks like some very, very cold days in Chile. Look at that. Antarctic air coming directly south to north. Yowzers. That makes for a cold day in southwestern Chile. Check out lightningmaps.org. Man, oh man, it's a frozen day in Patagonia. Check out lightningmaps.org next time you hear thunder. And if you're on a boat with hunks like Marky Mark and George Clooney right now in the Gulf of Mexico, perhaps with Tom Hanks shrimping, please be careful, as there's a bunch of lightning out there. You could end up sizzled fat and sizzled lean. You know where McMurdo Station is? Well, it's right there, Antarctica. Antarctica. Please leave a comment if you think Guar lives in Antarctica. Anyway, here's the pressure maps on Windy. Windy.com. Man, a major anticyclone too there. That's part of what's holding off that cold air and causing it to bend right into South America. Let's play the pressure map for 24 hours or so here and keep this thing moving before we become old and gray. If you smack your leg on something, keep it elevated, folks. The human body has a way of coming back from even the most horrific injuries. Anyway, there's where pressures will be in about 24 hours. Moving on to the AccuWeather Doppler radar. Shout out AccuWeather. We are actually digging the new setup. I don't know what that's scrolling. It ain't scrolling anything. All right. Anyway, there's the U.S. Doppler radar, folks. Looks like northern Lake Michigan is getting pummeled again. And again, if you're on a boat off the coast of Tampa with hunks like Marky Mark and George Clooney and Tom Hanks. Dear Tom Hanks, maybe you should run for president, although what's up with The Rock? Is The Rock running? Please leave a comment if you've got a better candidate for the Democratic ticket than the Democratic Party has. And here's the U.S. water vapor map. We like to look at water vapor. It's really the only significant greenhouse gas on our planet. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that on a humid night, if it's like a cloudy evening, for instance, and it's warm out, it'll stay warm all night. That's the greenhouse effect. It's caused by water vapor. Anyway, here's the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. And let's zoom in on this area, this atmospheric river that is flowing into Georgia. Yowzers. It's atmospheric whitewater rafting, folks. Check it out. We also get rapid cloud formation here over the... What are we looking at? How are we looking at old data? This is unbelievable. All right, well, scratch that. Check it out. We're looking at, it says here, September 15th. The date stamps on here say September 13th. Let's get a better idea of what's going on. Well, that's weird, folks. I've clicked all of these images, and we're getting a September 13th date stamp, and that certainly looks like yesterday's data. Let's see if we can find a water vapor map for you. All right, and that was very strange. Now we're back to AccuWeather here, and we'll see if that will animate for us. It looks like we've got missing water vapor data. All right, I'm going to call it a day on the water vapor data. By the way, we do see the same thing with the NASA GOES shortwave, so it looks like some satellite problems. What's up with that? Was it cosmic ray flux? Who knows? Let's look at the cosmic ray monitors while we're on the subject. Apatity, there's the data from that. Pretty high levels in the past few days, as well as a precipitous spike there. You can see some real serious anomalies going on there at Barentsburg. Next, we'll look at Athens. There's the Athens neutron monitor. Pretty significant range going on there. Here's Mexico City. Here's Moscow. Significant ranges happening there also. Here's Oulu, Finland. There's DOMC Antarctica. And there's DOMB Antarctica. Starting to send back more data. Pretty wintry down there right now, although spring is about to be sprung. Today we're integrating everything, so welcome to the That Is Censored, and that is a hole in the ground, aka the censored versus sinkhole section. Were you aware that big tech can't break the internet, but the internet can break big tech, and it's in the process of doing it right now? Don't Google it. Please don't use Google as a verb. Please don't use Google as a verb. I like my ears to remain non-bleeding. Were you aware that on September 15th, 1997, something horrible happened to our world? Yeah. Something horrible happened on September 15th. (1997). And what the hell is it searching for the number 1 for? The search engine, Google.com's domain name, geez, that was annoying, was registered on September 15th, 1997. A terrible day for the internet, as Google is doing more to break the internet than any other company, and more to censor information itself than any other entity in the history of mankind. You don't believe us? Google operates 60% of the servers in the world, and there are over 2 billion functioning Android phones. Google owns the Android operating system. If you think you can use Waze to get away from Google Maps, by the way, Google owns Waze. Have you seen the latest image of Saturn from the Hubble? It's pretty excellent, and we've got links in the description to the Universe Today article citing it. It's pretty good. Do you follow us on Facebook? Facebook.com/smAsho. What about on Gab? I barely use it because it acts pretty weird, but check out our awesome thumbnail from yesterday's video. That's gab.com/smAsho. Or also we've got minds.com/smAsho. Will you be our 500,000th view? Check it out. We're all the way up to 499. 499,914 views, folks. By the way, we need tokens, so please get an account and send us some tokens so we can reach more people. As we are a little bit shadow banned. Check it out. We're almost at 500,000, folks. 499,914. Minds won't censor you, by the way. It's open source. It will not censor you like YouTube will. It won't demonetize your videos like YouTube does. And if you didn't watch our videos from yesterday, please do. We put out 3 of them. One was just in rage. So anyway, why don't you become our next patron? You'll see a lot of the stuff before it comes out otherwise. And thanks for leaving comments, everybody, and thanks to our patrons, as you are associate producers of this channel. We're going into one bonus section, and it's the colorized magnetogram. It's about 6.5 hours worth there, folks. Just September 15th, the day that will live in infamy, as Google tries to break the internet and tons of smart people prevent them from doing so on the daily. Anyway, we've got some fields around here. You've got some fields there, some organized fields there, organized fields there. And I believe some rising in the east also. We are out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Please leave a comment. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Press the notification bell. Share on your social media, as we're having just a little bit of trouble gaining any traction and subscribers on this channel, as you may have noticed. So in any case, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staring at the sun. Remember, when you're doing so, don't drink it. If you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.